First of all, I think AI is a catch bucket for everything. Everybody's like, oh, it's AI. I'm like, no. Or kind of, but so everybody just throws AI in one bucket, which is unfortunate and unfair. You have to have the foundations exactly to the point. And it takes time and it takes investment and it is stressful and it is a lot of unpicking and you've got to work with the right partners and it is a lot. So just throwing a bot or something on is not going to solve your problem. It's going to the points that were just made, going to create a lot more.
Kim, Ben, Andy, welcome back to the Armchair show. You've all been involved in one way or another. Andy, you were here for the very first one.
Inaugural show, yeah.
Yeah, which was, how long ago was that? 2 or 3 years? No, 3 or 4
Pre-pandemic.
years ago.
Pre-pandemic.
That's how quickly time has gone.
Pre-studio.
Yeah, where we were kind of squeezed into a little box in London somewhere, weren't we?
Yeah.
But yeah, so in fact, Andy, let's start with yourself because this show is all about you guys and how you got into the industry and, as we were just saying, kind of getting people ready for jumping into the automotive industry. So just a very quick sort of potted history of your entry. How did you get here?
How long we got, Mark?
You got 30 seconds.
So, I started my career as a techie. Got involved in the automotive industry when I joined Nissan. That was 30 years ago. I know, it's incredible. I don't look that old. I moved into digital solutions when the digital revolution happened. Ran a digital marketing business, worked for AutoTrader, worked with other automotive names that you'll know, and eBay, and now I run a digital business called AutoFinity.
Sounds like quite a traditional route in, doesn't it?
One of the things I feel is that I've been involved in the automotive industry for 30 years, but I haven't worked for the. I've never sold cars.
Right.
I work for a manufacturer. I've worked with dealers, but I've not actually. Most of my customers, I'm always saying, this is what I know you need to do, but I've never done it, so I'm not trying to tell you that how to run your business is. This is what you need to do. So
yeah, that's not unusual. It's a bit like football managers who haven't played the game, or they've played very little of the game, but it doesn't always matter, does it really? Kim, what's your route into automotive?
Sure, slightly different. So I started in professional sports. I worked for the National Football League in the States. Did not play football in the States, but was worked for them, was recruited from the NFL to AutoNation. Started in the automotive industry and actually fell in love with it. Worked in marketing, communications, worked in operations. I did sell cars, did finance, spent a lot of time in dealerships, and then was recruited to come over to the UK. And now I'm Chief Marketing Officer for Pendragon. So we're one of the largest automotive retail groups in the country.
And how have you found that transition from sport to automotive? It's not the most obvious when going from what we're saying about Andy's route.
Yeah, he wasn't interested in my transitions.
I'll just stick with this. Yeah, but how has that transition been? Has it been obvious or as it's turned out? Or?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different than, or a little more. Let me try that again. It's a little more similar than people would expect. So when I first came over into the automotive industry, I did a lot with our partners and our sponsorships. A lot of that was with IndyCar, college football in America, and things like that. So I really had an interesting transition where I still had one foot in sports and the other foot in the automotive sector. As far as the similarities, there are quite a few similarities. I mean, it is a high-paced, high-stress, very demanding industry. Really creative, really fun. No 2 days are the same. So there's some similarities. There's also some obviously drastic differences. But I think they're just both really fun. I describe both of them as a toy box of life, right? How much fun is it? How much fun is it to get to be around fun, flashy cars, that have such amazing histories and they're so emotionally connected to people. You don't often remember the first of a lot of things, but you do remember your first car, your first experience in a type of car. And I think that's similar to professional sports, no matter what sport it is. You remember that feeling of going to a match or going to a game, no matter where it is, and you hold that fire pretty close to your heart.
Yeah, they're both very emotive. I think that's a great word for it, definitely. Ben, you've got a lot to live up to. It's a bit like following Queen at Wembley, isn't it?
How the hell did you follow that one?
How have you got to where you are now?
So I've not always been in the motor industry. I was in marketing for my sort of first 10 years, worked for a full service agency called McCann Erickson out of Birmingham. But I did work with automotive clients, so worked with sort of Volkswagen Financial Services. Did that for about 12 years, and then got convinced that the motor trade was a good move, if I'm honest. So I moved to Arbury. I've been with Arbury 18 years now. It's the only company I know in the automotive, so I'm not sure that's a good or a bad thing. But did sort of quite a traditional route, really. So sales exec, spent a bit of time with fleet, business manager, sales manager, general manager, operations director, managing director.
Done it all.
I've done well. I haven't been in after sales, and I think a lot of my team will tell me that with sometimes. But yeah, that's.
It's just as exciting as the
not really. NFL.
Okay, I was trying to be nice there, Ben. But, I think another thing, which obviously a lot of people listen to this and watch this show who are thinking about coming into the industry, and obviously bosses play a big role in our journeys. You don't have to mention any names with this at all, although most people pick their current boss, obviously for obvious reasons. Who do you think your best boss was? And again, you don't have to mention names at all, but for what reason do they stick in your mind, Andy?
I am going to mention a name, and you're all going to know him, so he's going to owe me for this. Nathan Coe, actually. I worked for Nathan during my time at Auto Trader. I've got mixed feelings about my relationship because he definitely taught me a lot, but unfortunately, he's good-looking, he's younger than me, and is significantly wealthier, and I think smarter. So, but I think the reason it stands out is because his approach was always to make me feel like I was learning. So even when he clearly needed to purpose me in a different direction or give me a development guidelines, it was always done in a way where I felt it benefited me and that I was going to be more successful as a consequence of that.
That makes a big difference, doesn't it? What about yourself, Kim? Again, no names, but anything in particular?
I've been really lucky throughout my career. I've had some really amazing bosses. I would say, honestly, the current CEO of Pendragon, not simply because I work for him now, but I think from everything I've learned from him over the years. I've worked with him for a multitude of years, with him, for him. I think the ability to see firsthand his leadership style and him giving me the rope to in relying on my expertise in certain situations to make decisions. Just the learnings I get from that. And it's helped me be a better boss on how I work with my team and how I work, throughout the company with both peers and people from different teams. So I think that's a massive thing. And also just to be with, working with somebody who is a turnaround person, right? Taking a company and being able to turn it around. That's an amazing thing to witness and to be involved with. So I would have to say definitely my most influential.
They leave a mark on you, don't they?
Without question.
Those sort of people. Who's left a mark on you, Ben? In a management sense.
In a positive way.
I guess if I go back to marketing, really, and I suppose it's the nature of the industry we were in, but I had a great account director a long time ago called Richard Beards. I still know him now, he's still a friend. It's just, I guess, the ability to collaborate and make you feel as if there was no hierarchy. And I think that served me pretty well. And I think my style is probably less, I'm going to sound really sort of left field here, to learn off people above me and to learn as much from my team around me. And, I suppose, God, I can't believe I'm going to mention it again, but the COVID piece and adapting and working, I learned as much from my operational team. And so I think there's a lot more now I learn coming upwards, if that makes sense, from necessarily coming downwards.
Yeah.
My old bosses at Arbury are going to hate me for not actually including them whatsoever, but I hope they understand.
I'm sure they won't mind, yeah. Well, I suppose coming more up to date then and talking about Arbury itself, talking about your businesses, what is something that Arbury does really well, do you think, just off the top of your head?
I think, I'm just going to sound like I'm echoing the previous answer, I think the people are just so important. and I know you're coming, but we have our first awards event in a couple of days. We've never done it before in 22 years to sort of celebrate the team, and it's been about, it feels a long time in the making. But it is as cheesy and as sort of stereotyped as it is. It's the people. We're very good at ensuring that everyone's heard. That there is a hierarchy. Obviously, there has to be for certain decisions. But I do believe that people feel comfortable enough in our business to make a difference. They don't just feel they're being told, this is how it is. I'm sure there's lots that won't agree with me. But I think I come back to that collaboration. I think it's super important in ensuring that the business moves in the right direction.
Yeah.
So I think and I know a lot of businesses say that. I think that's one of our fortes.
No,
we're small enough. We're small enough at 250 people to be quite agile and make sure we listen to as many people as we possibly can.
Definitely helps, doesn't it? And Pendragon, in terms of the size of the business, how does that work in terms of your position within it? And again, the same sort of question, really. What do you think stands out with Pendragon as being particularly special?
Absolutely. So I think we really push the envelope on a lot of things. We have our digital company, our technology company, Pinewood. So we're able to build things and bring them to market, thanks to Paul and his team, much faster than a lot of our competitors, frankly. So I think we're really good with evolving and adapting and pushing limits. A good example, I'll mention the terrible COVID word again, but we were one of the first automotive retailers that you could fully transact with online that wasn't a quote-unquote disruptor on our car store website. And that was thanks to our ability to quickly bring that technology to life. So I think we really push the envelope and we really adapt and force change, at least since my tenure here. And a lot of that is due to the people and to our ability, but really forcing change on an industry that I think has needed change for a long time. So it's fun and it's exciting for us to be able to do that.
Yeah. It's changed something from your point of view, Andy, with AutoFinity that you focused on either bringing about yourself, or is it something you've had to adapt to? How have you found that?
No, well, both. Obviously, no one could have predicted the pandemic. But a little bit like Kim saying, that we were set up for it. It's actually been a huge boost for us as a business because, as I've mentioned, my background goes back, since the .com boom, and for all that time, I've been standing on stages and trying to persuade the industry, look, this whole internet thing, it's here to stay and you probably need to engage with it. And everybody's going, yeah, but look, we've got to do this first. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hits and our messages start to be heard. And but being able to grow a business that is suddenly more in demand and make sure that we can scale and that we can react, that's also something that we've had to learn. One of the we are very much about trying to help drive the transformation of this industry, and with good customers like Arbury, we're starting to see. A lot of people, the word that used to get used is omnichannel, and now everybody seems to be using hybrid, and I don't really care what it is, but what the whole idea of communication with your customer, however it happens, and responding to it in a consistent way, and joining up your systems and your people and your processes, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Do you think these changes have had an impact on the customer journey? So, for instance, from your point of view, how do customers generally find you? And has that changed over the last 2 or 3 years?
Well, I suppose we're a B2B business, so customers find us through the usual mechanisms within the automotive industry. I think what has changed is that we're now being sought out as opposed to pounding on the door, because everybody, it's like I said, I've come from a technology business into the automotive, and I have to keep reminding my guys that our customer base are automotive that are engaging with tech. And we've got to help them understand how to do that. And there's a lot of businesses which are trying to push a digital agenda, but actually need a lot of help as to how to make that happen.
Yeah, which brings us to Ben, actually, neatly. In terms of Arbury and your customers, what's changed there in terms of the customer journey?
I mean, I think it's fairly obvious with with everything that has changed over the last 4 years. Our customers are doing even more work before they come to see us across multiple OEMs. I think brand loyalty, I think I said this last time I was here, is less of a thing now due to some of the challenges around supply. So I think our customers are doing quite a lot of work. But yeah, you say omni-channel, hybrid, whatever you want to call it, they are moving fairly quickly between on and offline multiple times in the same journey. So I think the difference a little bit is before it was traditionally research. The internet was a research piece, a library, for want of a better phrase. Once they'd got their information, then they'd obviously make their trip or phone call or inquiry or however it was to the retailer. I think now there can be quite a lot of movement, multiple contact, but they may then return back to the platform, whatever platform that is, to do further work. And that's because it's far more interactive, because they can build cars, build finance packages, it's just a lot more flexible for them. Whereas I think traditionally before it was, that's my information, I've got what I need, I'm off to see, the relevant retailer. So the principle's the same. I think there's just a lot more flexibility for a customer to move around.
Yeah, and that has a huge impact on marketing, doesn't it, Kim? So, from your
Sure.
role, obviously you see this firsthand. How has marketing changed when it comes to getting customers through the theoretical door?
Sure. I'd say it's changed in some ways significantly, in other ways not really at all. I think the omni-channel marketing approach is now more essential than ever. But you have to meet customers where they are. So I'm going to answer your question both from an operations standpoint and from a marketing standpoint, because I'm very close with both of them. So when we use CarStore as an example, so when we relaunched CarStore, we came out with a hybrid model. And the theory was to meet customers wherever they were in their car buying journey, which is very much like my panel over here is alluded to or talked to directly. And in order to do that, you need the technology that picks up where they were in their journey, both online and in store, and can meet them. Because there's nothing more frustrating than doing a bunch of work online and getting in the store and saying, oh, those systems don't talk. It's a terrible customer journey. Yep. So the customer experience has to be seamless with points of friction that are well placed. You don't want it too seamless, because then you lose the customer and you lose the ability to sell sell or market a product to the customer, but you don't want it so friction filled that you lose the customer. So you have to have that nice balance. And that's the same with marketing. You've got to look at it from a national level and a local level. I can tell you we have calls on a weekly basis with my heads of business. We've been doing it for years, since I've got here, so for years now. Seems almost strange to say. Time has flown. But so we have those calls to understand on a local level what is needed, both from a stock position new and stock position used. Because what is needed to move in Manchester is very different than what might be needed to move in Wolverhampton. So it's understanding that, and then it's approaching the marketing with accurate targeting, with personalization, but without over personalizing. So again, there's these fine lines. You want to know your customer. You want to serve what they need. Then you want to use AI to the best of its ability without crossing that line of being creepy. Because the second you're creepy or bothersome, nobody wants to deal with you, and you get the absolute opposite reaction. And with first-party data being such a huge, huge thing right now, when somebody unsubscribes, that can be devastating. Yeah. So especially in the customer life cycle, with not only purchasing a car, but then buying the car from them and servicing the car, you want to be able to make sure that you keep that data in your databases. So I think while it's changed a lot with the avenues, you still need to incorporate the traditional door drops, the traditional sponsorships, and it's really about getting in front of people and making sure that they're aware. So when they are ready to buy or sell a car, that recall hits, and you're like, I'm coming to Evanshaw, Strawstone, or CarStore. No
or
offense.
Arbury.
It's like, no offense.
Wherever they choose. It's just easy for everyone, isn't it? I think you may be one of the first people to have said the AI word, actually. And obviously that's in the news a lot at the moment. We could sit here and talk about, maybe we couldn't. I'm assuming not there. But I'd be interested in all three of your opinions on AI from your own individual perspectives, just for a bit of a laugh. It's something which is being talked about a lot now, the pace of change. And what's happening, I think the key thing is that as consumers and normal people, I've got to stop doing that, we're starting to see it and we can start using it. Is it coming into the automotive industry? I'll start with you actually, Ben. Is it coming into the automotive industry in any particular way that people need to be aware of?
So for us, and I've said this earlier, for a relatively small business, we have sort of engaged companies about AI probably 18 months ago. I think we all did. I think it was out there very much like, digital platforms were being offered and various tech pieces. So we were looking at it from an internal processing point of view, but we're also looking at it from our CRM journey through after sales and sales. It's been difficult is probably the best way. I've got to be really careful about this man on the left because I have over the last 18 months become a bit tech lethargic. I keep saying this, and we've had this conversation. I think as an industry sometimes we're a little bit tech poor. And when the AI came along, there was all these promises of it can do this, and now the actual reality is we've put it in internally for a start, just to at least see if it can start to process some of the millions of documents we do as a simple task, and that's not got quite off the ground as we thought it would, and it provides its own complications where a human has to get it, involved. So we sort of are at very early stage one, probably not compared to yourself, but we're very early because until we can understand how it works internally and correctly.
Yeah.
I don't really want to move it on to the next piece, which is external. So.
Yeah, and the whole point is that you shouldn't have to step in. It's something which you should leave to its own devices, really.
But interestingly, when they came and presented it, I went, "Well, AI just, we'll be able to redirect our people to make sure that we can, better efficiencies in this area and that area." So, well, no, some of this AI is human. It's two pieces, and I was like, hold on, we've got to bring a human into it as well. And so, hasn't been the best experience so far.
Early days. Andy, so obviously perhaps a bit more front line with this. What's your opinion on AI and automotive?
Well, interestingly, a similar answer to Ben's, because actually what we find is, so if I can change it slightly, but it's the same answer, is it's like e-commerce. So when the pandemic hit, everybody went, I've got to be able to sell online. I've actually got to allow an order online. And everybody went, I've got to be able to do e-commerce. And it's a little bit the same with AI of if you are building sophisticated solutions on top of a shaky platform, you're screwed.
Yeah.
And the shaky platform's not just about shaky technology. Technology is being held together by people. And what most, now I'm going to offend two people in one go.
Be careful, you're in the middle of
many C-level people.
You're only invited this weekend.
It's harder to get out of that seat.
Yeah. They make assumptions about how their business runs. And they don't necessarily understand the weak points in how data is getting from one system into another system and how many times it's being rekeyed, etc. So you then overlay AI or complex e-commerce solutions on top of that, and it all just collapses. And the consumer gets a much worse experience because most of the businesses we work with at the moment actually rely on people and manual processes to pick up the problems and deal with them and talk to the consumer and we've just sold you a car that actually we don't have because we sort of haven't got connected systems, but it's okay because I'm talking to you and we can solve that problem. You can't do that with AI and you can't do it with e-commerce. So I think they are definitely powerful tools that will allow the industry to continue its transformation. My advice is, first thing is, you need to do a bit of an audit, you need to tidy up, you need to make things work more smoothly, and then you're building on a firm foundation.
Just hold fire, don't go.
In defence of the answer I gave, I'd agree with you, because that's probably the biggest problem we came up against is these companies approach you with a one-size-fits-all, and then our process is very different to the next business's process. And so it's not just the technology, and I'm not pushing it at the door of our teams, but it's also the way we do things and adjusting that. So
yeah. I suppose from a marketing perspective, again, AI has been in marketing for many years, whether people are aware of that or not. But has it impacted your role at all?
Sure. So I work really closely with the background in operations, I work really closely with Martin, our Chief Operating Officer. Martin Cashaw, I'm sure many people know who he is. He is a staple in the industry. And so we work really well on what technologies make sense with an operational aspect in mind. So my view on marketing is always our job is to help sell cars. Let's be really clear. That's what we do, and service cars and buy cars. But it's around that. So our job is to make operations lives easier. So wholeheartedly agree. So we have some AI. Various things. First of all, I think AI is a catch bucket for everything. Everybody's like, "Oh, it's AI." I'm like, "No," or kind of, but so everybody just throws AI in one bucket, which is unfortunate and unfair. You have to have the foundations exactly to the point, and it takes time and it takes investment, and it is stressful and it is a lot of unpicking, and you've got to work with the right partners, and it is a lot. So just throwing a bot or something on is not going to solve your problem. It's going to the points that were just made, going to create a lot more. The personalization, all that kind of stuff that goes that are done through AI are really great when they work and you have the right foundations and you have everything there. But I think the other thing people forget is these bots and everything are programmed by people. So everybody likes to think machines are not fallible. Incorrect. The people that are programming them, humans, were fallible. So if it's misprogrammed or miskeyed or miscoded, that leads to a poor technology or a poor AI experience for the customer. So I agree with everything that was said. You have to have that strong base. You have to make sure that the products that you are putting in place, you know what they do, you know how they work, and they're not something that's going to collapse your system or create more work. And it's how they work in your everyday, right? It's to aid, it's to help, it's to make the customer journey better, and frankly, to make your employees' experience better, free up their time so they can they can focus on some other things that are driving incremental impact on the business. So I think that AI is really interesting. I think it's used a lot. I think that it's thrown in a bucket. I think it's fallible. I think all these things. And as an industry, the automotive industry, we're slow to move to things. We've been just a rocket shoved up us in the last few years, to be fair, because we've had to adapt. So we're more agile than we've ever been. But that we do need to take a breather and not just throw new technology, because we've gotten so used to taking on all this technology, and it's worked. But there is behind the scenes, there's some masking tape or some sticking gum that allows some of these things to work. So it's identifying where those weak points are before you throw more technology. Technology is not the answer. No. Fixing the root, much like anything in life, is the answer before you add anything more complex atop it.
So the good news is the robots aren't taking over.
Not yet.
We don't need Sarah. Little Terminator reference there for you. But I suppose, for anyone listening to this who's thinking of coming to the industry or probably worried about their job, they don't need to be at the moment, do they? But just to round this off, again, thinking of the people who are eyeing up automotive as a potential career, what would you say to them, Ben? What would be your... Hit you with that, didn't I?
You did. I was going to just give you the right answer as well.
I like when you catch Ben off guard. This is fun. I love your. It's good.
I keep going for Ben.
I know.
Yeah.
It's because he's
lulls you into a false sense of security.
But what would you say to someone who's thinking about coming to this industry?
I think 100%. If I'm really, really honest, go for it. Now I'm very biased. It's bar marketing. It's the only industry I've known for the thick end of 20 years. I think it is fun. Mm-hmm. I'd say that.
Toy box of life.
I think it's really important to get up and go to work and enjoy it, and that comes down to culture of the business, but it also comes down to what you're actually doing. I think it's a much used phrase, but it's so different. It's so different every day, and I think that's the same at all levels. And whether that's the challenges we've been experiencing and continue to, unfortunately, in some areas, or whether that's just different customers every day, different challenges. I think it's just an exciting industry, and I know there's lots of industries out there that sit behind a table like this and go, yeah, ours is really exciting. But I compare back to my marketing, working in an agency, which was, a meeting, sit behind the desk. It was a little bit more sort of formal, if that's the way, or traditional. It's another world.
Yeah.
And the marketing piece has served me really well. It's very closely linked to sales. But yeah, I'd say, go for it. It's exciting. Maybe not quite at the moment. maybe just let everything get back to normal. But,
the next few months.
What is normal?
Well,
That's a very good point. Yeah,
exactly.
that's a really good point.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun and just exciting every day.
We spend a lot of time at work. It's important we're happy,
Yeah,
isn't it?
absolutely.
Really. Andy, what do you think in terms of what do you say to someone who wants to get into this?
Probably two things. One is when we talk about the automotive industry, it's enormous. So there's so many different. I mean, I'm in the automotive industry and we build computer systems. Obviously you've got after sales and customer services. So there's many different aspects. So people can be in the industry and carve out a wonderful career that's not necessarily directly, may not be selling cars, etc. The other thing is be careful because you will never get out again. So as I say, I thought I was.
You're in, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. And most people I know in the industry, they have potentially come from another industry, like, I don't know, let's say NFL sports, something crazy like that, and then they get involved in this industry. And that's actually because of the things that Ben said. Is it's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. It can be difficult, but those are also challenges, and that's so. As Ben said, every day is different. There's a lot of excitement, and there's some great product to play with.
And that's such a good.
I think that's really important. Actually, it's no longer, again, I'll reiterate, we're a smaller business, and traditionally I'd have probably answered, well, if you want to be a technician or you want to be a sales executive. But as we've expanded and our departments have expanded, and we've taken on videographers and customer service, experts, and it's not that so traditional.
No.
You don't have to necessarily be good on the spanners or be able to sell a car. There's lots of different opportunities in our side of the business as well as other sides. So I think that's a really good point.
It is important.
It can be sort of pigeonholed. No, I can't go in that industry because I'm not a mechanic and my sales pattern's rubbish. So
But that might be what people are thinking. They'll be listening to this and thinking that's what I've always viewed the automotive industry as. And as you say, Andy, it's got many industries within it almost, hasn't it? It's that kind of thing. That's
literally a nice segue into exactly how I was going to answer. It's not the traditional seller service a car. There's so many pathways. I mean, we have 7 verticals: B2B leasing, B2C leasing, entire global technology company, automotive sales, parts company. I mean, you name it. There's a variety of opportunities within each of those across so many different expertises. And I'm always looking for, and I can very wholeheartedly answer for my my human resources and recruiting team, always looking for good people. And frankly, I think now is the best time to enter the industry because change is happening. It's happening rapidly, and the appetite is there. For so many years, there was no appetite for change. So I think now is absolutely the best time to enter it if you're looking to take an industry that hasn't made huge headways in the past. This is the time to do it. And frankly, we need more diversification across the industry from every aspect of it. So the more people that are involved, the more diversification that's involved, the more understanding as to what our customers need and want, huge. So yeah, listen, I'm always looking for anybody who's motivated. I agree with exactly what was said. It's different every day. It's not your old school, car industry anymore. It is a really exciting industry, and there's so much that can happen in the next few years and will happen that, I totally geek out about it. I think it's awesome. So, it's super fun. So, if you're motivated and like to work hard, you call me.
What a positive note to end on.
No, don't steal them now. You call me.
You'll be getting calls after this, I can guarantee it. We could carry on, guys, but it's been fantastic. We've got to stop there, unfortunately. But what a positive note to end on. It's a good time to come into the industry. Thank you. We'll have you back again, I'm sure, at some stage. But take care, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here's the